A 14th player abandons USC football, but in this case, it's about damn time. Austin Eckler is blaming everyone but himself for his terrible season, and the Kings are really hoping that Cam Talbott can hold up for the next few weeks. Good morning. I'm James. This is your daily dose of sports and snark for the greatest sports city in the world, Los Angeles. This is the faithful Angelenos Morning Report. It's December 20th, 2023. Looks like it's going to be a lovely day. Can't wait to take part in it. But before we do, let's talk a little LA sports. If you like being in the know about LA, clickety-clack the like button. Clickety-clack the subscribe button. There's a notification bell. Hit that. It'll let you know when we drop new content. Sharing is caring. Let people know we exist. And by all means, comment. I totally look forward to hearing from you. So before we go through the news and notes, a look at the scoreboard. Kings 4, Sharks 1. Anze Kopitar with a goal and an assist. Here's something weird. Cal State Northridge 76, UCLA 72. Hats off to the San Fernando Valley. It's not just pornography that they can shoot over there. And by the way, the Bruins are now 5-5. So a friend reached out to me, by the way, a few weeks ago. He started clowning me because USC had a bad loss to UC Irvine. How does this one taste, fellas? I'm just going to let that score speak for itself. Sebastian Mack did score 27 for the Bruins, though. Meanwhile, USC 79, Alabama State 59. Let's be real, should have been a butt kicking. Arrington Page scores 12 for the Trojans in their last non-conference game. Meanwhile, today, the Lakers are at Chicago at 5 o'clock. Cue the Zach LaVine rumors. Clippers are at Dallas at 5:30. Paul George is considered questionable for the game, and Seattle is going to play the Kings at 7 tonight. But let's get to the news. Korey Foreman was at one time the top recruit in the nation, and yet he is the 14th player to enter the transfer portal for USC, or from USC. And I have to tell you, this might be the most frustrating addition to the transfer portal. Not because he produced and that the Trojans are going to miss his production, but because the guy was supposed to be the cornerstone of a defensive rebuild in what turned out to be Clay Helton's final season. Hell, he could have been the defensive cornerstone if USC was going to turn around defensively during the first couple of years of Lincoln Riley. And Foreman never got off the bench. Or for that matter, never got outside the trainer's tent. It still makes you wonder about the amount of talent that the Trojans have possibly wasted or misfired on over the last couple of years. Yes, 14 players have entered the transfer portal, but to make it sting even more, 5 of those players were considered 4- or 5-star prospects coming out of high school. Craziness. But in Foreman's case, he just played 3 games this year. 3 games. Now, you might call that a failure of the USC defensive coaching staff, and that is a fair accusation, considering the results that the Trojans had under Alex Grinch, under Todd Orlando. But consider this. Consider this. Despite the rave reviews that Foreman got in high school, he missed half of his junior season due to injury. And then his entire senior year in high school got wiped out due to COVID restrictions. In other words, he missed out on almost 2 full years of football and then was supposed to play in college? Please. In 23 games played, the dude recorded just 25 tackles with USC. He's an outside linebacker / edge rusher with 2.5 sacks in 3 seasons. That is just terrible. So out of all the players that USC lost, yes, he had the pedigree, but it looked like it was just empty promises in retrospect. Are you a Trojans fan, and do you want to feel that knife dig a little deeper? Well, I'm about to, so forgive me up front. The Athletic went to coaches around the Pac-12, gave them anonymity, and told them to talk about as much crap as USC as their little hearts could stand. And boy, did they run with it, especially about the defense. This is what USC has to change for next year. That is why I'm going to tell you this. This is the perspective outside of the locker room. So for recruiting, they have to change. On-field perception, they'll have to change. Quote, they're a bunch of mercenaries just trying to get their own stats. So undisciplined, it was unbelievable, unquote. That's from a coach inside the Pac-12. Another coach referred to the Trojans as, quote, independent contractors, unquote, due to the Trojans' reliance on the transfer portal. Said another, quote, I'd gone up against Alex Grinch before. It was aggressive, but it was sound. This wasn't that. This was one of the worst defenses we've faced, unquote. Another, by the way, scoffed at the talent level. Quote, where is the shutdown corner? Where is the defensive lineman that no one can block? Where is the game-changing linebacker, unquote? Quote, that program was always about being physical. That is something they have always thrived on, but they just didn't show it anymore. Oregon would knock you around. USC didn't even try to, unquote. So again, this isn't to take the knife and twist it. This is to give you a hint as to what the Trojans have to accomplish to actually do a program turnaround. Get impact players on all three levels of defense, rediscover physicality, and frankly, stop acting like you're 11 individuals looking out for yourself. That's a tall order that USC has to face going into the Big 12 or Big 10 or Big 20. Who knows how many more they're going to expand to. Now, if you're scrambling for a little good news out of Heritage Hall, I'm not sure I have a whole lot to give you. Writers are hyping the potential of the high school recruiting class. And frankly, I think it's about time USC start looking back to bringing players in from high school and coaching them up instead of going through the transfer portal completely. So they're hyping the potential, but it ranks 5th in the Big 10. 24/7 Sports lists USC's high school class as 17th in the nation. They only have 4 players in the top 100, which doesn't say sucks, it just says mid. For that matter, the offensive line still lacks, although Jason Zandamela is in the top 100. No quarterbacks either, by the way, which kind of raises an eyebrow for Lincoln Riley. And if anything sticks out defensively about this class, it's that high schoolers were probably turned away after 2 years of incompetence from Alex Grinch. They're going to want to see what DeAnton Lynn can accomplish first. So in other words, if I were to wrap this whole thing up in a big bow for you for USC football, recruits, transfers, etc., are looking at DeAnton Lynn, looking at the new defensive coaches and saying, okay, but you got to prove it to me first. Austin Eckler is trying to avoid the mushroom cloud over SoFi Stadium. You know, the fallout that makes anybody radioactive in Charger gear. Quote, I'm a free agent after this year, and so I'm still painting my resume, unquote. Well, it looks like finger painting to me, dude. It really does. How does that painting of a resume coming out? 3.6 yards per carry. 39th among NFL running backs. Vincent Van Gogh was known for being internally tortured. Austin Eckler, in terms of artwork, is known for internal denial. The guy has never rushed for 1,000 yards in a season. This time, I think he's barely cracked 500 yards. So now, because he's about to be a free agent, remember, going into this season, the guy was talking about how he should be paid with the elite running backs in the game. And now, he's trying to find excuses. He claims his stats are terrible because of an ankle injury that forces him to walk down flights of stairs sideways. like a crab. Then he goes around and he's blaming Kellen Moore's offense, saying, quote, adjusting to it has, quote, been tough, unquote, which is weird because what Lincoln Riley is to high school quarterbacks, Kellen Moore was to Dallas Cowboy running backs. He turned about 2 or 3 of them into household names while he was there. So is it really everybody else's fault? Maybe a little personal responsibility might go a long way, dude. Just saying. Just saying. Keenan Allen remains out of practice for the Chargers, who will host Buffalo on Saturday night. Allen missed last week's booty pounding up in Vegas due to a heel injury, but let's be real. The dude being on the field would not have saved Brandon Staley's job. Not after that output. No way. You could have had Kellen Winslow, LaDainian Tomlinson, and Junior Seau on the field, and Staley would still be on the unemployment line. Let's just be honest with ourselves. David Rittich got the start in goal last night for the LA Kings up in San Jose, which makes sense because you would rather have number 1 netminder Cam Talbot in there against Seattle tonight. Wouldn't you agree? But don't be surprised if the Kings have to lean even more on Cam Talbot, who, by the way, is 36 years old, not exactly a spring chicken. They'll have to lean on Talbot way more in the coming weeks because backup Phoenix Copley is sidelined. Now, LA is not struggling this year, but part of the reason that they haven't been facing a lot of adversity this year is because for whatever reason in the early part of the year, the schedule was spaced out for them. They have games at hand on a lot of teams who've played more games. But tonight is the first of 3 back-to-back games on the schedule. In other words, games on consecutive nights with Phoenix Copley out. So 6 games crammed together. The most optimistic look for Copley's return is the 2nd week of January. So if Talbot and Rittich cannot hold up, the Kings could slide. Rams running back Ronnie Rivers is designated to return from injured reserve on Tuesday, which means he is eligible to actually return to active play in 21 days. He's been out since week 6 with a dinged up knee. Meanwhile, the LA Times, they asked defensive coordinator Raheem Morris if he was ready for a shot at being a head coach again. Talk about a leading question. But whatever. Morris, he had coached Tampa Bay about 2 decades ago. He was an interim head coach over in Atlanta. Morris gave the perfunctory, I'm just trying to get the team ready for this week's game answer, right? But he eventually did confess, which I don't have a problem with, by the way. I don't. Quote, I'd not be telling you the truth if I didn't think I would be better than I was that first time around when I was 32 years old taking over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I look forward to those challenges, and when things present themselves, I'll be ready, unquote. Keep in mind, 4 Rams assistants under Sean McVay eventually became head coaches. And should Raheem Morris get another shot? I'd applaud it. Absolutely. He did yeoman's work when he was the interim head coach with the Falcons. And the Rams' plan for this year was to completely tear apart the defense. They gave Raheem Morris, Aaron Donald, and 10 versions of Who Are You, along with Aaron Donald. And Raheem Morris made that the 18th best defense in the league. He's been coaching his ass off. He absolutely deserves another look. I am guilty. A lot of times we want to be the smartest guy in the room, right? Right? Don't you? And I should have learned better from college. Being the smartest guy at the house party doesn't get the co-ed to take off her bra. But a few days ago, we were breaking down the Clippers. What has led to this remarkable turnaround for the LA? And I started overthinking it a little bit. I was talking about how they have this 10-to-1 assist to turnover ratio. In other words, they were sharing the ball more likely than turning it over, and that led to better offensive opportunities. And don't get me wrong, it's still a cool stat. But I think there's something more basic going on. Kawhi Leonard was averaging 26.4 points per game since November 17th. And during their 8-game winning streak, it's 29.3 points per game. It's all Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard has gone nuts. He has physically put the entire team on his back. So why should we complicate it? Give Kawhi Leonard his flowers. The Galaxy have acquired the rights to forward Miguel Berry from Atlanta United in exchange for a second-round MLS Super Draft pick. I don't think of Berry as solving a lot of problems for the Galaxy, though. This will be the dude's 4th team in as many years. He had 8 goals as a rookie, which sounds great, but he just had 1 last year in Atlanta. As for the Super Draft, the Galaxy took 2 dudes who grew up in the area, goalie Ethan Brandt, midfielder Tucker Lepley. Do I expect anything from either of them? Hell no, I don't. I really don't. LAFC also took a goalie in the first round, Jackson Lee of West Virginia. Defenseman Kenny Nielsen of Georgetown is coming to the Black and Gold. That would be from a second-round pick. UCLA has added kicker Mateen Bagani, a transfer from Cal. The dude was a walk-on last year for the Golden Bears. He nailed 8 of 9 attempts, but his longest was just 43 yards, and that's got to tell you a little something. Accurate, but should probably do a few more squats, wouldn't you say? I mean, hell, even those, hey everybody, let's pull a random fan from the stands and have him kick a field goal to win a car. Even that stunt is from 35 yards. Wouldn't you think that's a little bit, that Bengani might want to add a little bit of power to that leg? But you let me know what you think in the comments thread. Are these confessionals about USC fair? Do you agree or disagree? Does Austin Eckler have a point, or is he simply whining his way out the door? And if you enjoyed this content, don't forget to subscribe to Faithful Angelenos. We're talking LA sports every single day here. Thank you for watching. I'm James. We'll be back tomorrow. Faithful Angelenos is a Cam Talbott production. Take care.